I have not been to Minnesota in probably 20 years.
Bring gas. Welcome to Flagrant Howls, a Minnesota Timberwolves lifestyle podcast.
It's a Feedback Friday edition of Flagrant Howls here. Little NBA Cup action tonight out in Phoenix. Timberwolves on a Wednesday night, they play with their food a little bit there in the second half. Yeah. It's one of the rare times this season. They used to play with their food way more often. But, I don't know, they just got kind of, we're up by almost, what was it, 27? They were up by 25, I think, at half. I can't remember what the peak was, but then they just got bored against Washington. Almost lost that game. Oh,
I know that the Wolves have had some good opponents here thus far, but I can't wait till there's a string of them. Like, I'm so sick of Utah's coming to town tonight. Washington's coming to town tonight. You know, these bottom feeders. Like, give me a regular diet of good teams that will test them.
I'll give you that stretch here in a second, and we'll get to Feedback Friday, including we're going to start with Jace Frederick from the Pioneer Press delivered some pretty scathing criticism of Anthony Edwards based on the two most recent games. Would love to get your guys' thoughts on that. After we shout out Mystic Lake, the Hop House, great place for sports viewing during these winter months, Judd.
Oh, yeah, man. I mean, you're talking about a place. It's not just a great place for sports viewing, a great place to get food, a great place to get a good drink, but it is a great place to watch all of the games. So we're not just talking about one team, right? Like, yes, if the Vikings are on, the Vikings will be on a bunch of TVs. But if you're watching this, you can see here the amount of TVs and the fact that you can watch all of the games. And college football Saturday, NFL Sunday, my God, it's perfect because you're there and you can watch your favorite team, but then you can keep an eye on all of the games. Let's just say this. It is the ultimate sports viewing experience. There's a lot of places where you go and they got a lot of TVs. And guess what? Nobody knows how to control them. Nobody knows how to run them. And asking them the channel to be changed, it's like an act of God. It's like, I'm busy right now. Hop House, not like that at all. Mystic Lake Hop House. If you're a sports fan, you got to check it out.
Does it make you sick to your stomach when you walk into a sports bar and they don't know what channel the game is? Yeah, well, thanks to Mingy Digestive Health, you don't have to suffer with digestive concerns or try to tough them out on your own. I've gone through so much in my life when it comes to digestive issues. We joke about it on our podcast, but thanks to the folks at Mingy throughout my life helping me conquer acid reflux and GERD. I've had scopes. I've been on different medications, but over the years, Mingy Digestive Health has really helped me dial in and learn how to manage foods and drinks, even sleep methods. So my personal experience recommended to you, Mingy Digestive Health. It can be embarrassing. I've had times in my younger days, right, like in my early 20s, not before I really figured out, thanks to Mingy, what I was doing. Monitoring where bathrooms are when you're walking into places, it can be embarrassing, but don't let digestive issues sideline you. Get expert coaching from Mingy Digestive Health. Schedule a visit at mngi.com. Mingy.com. That's mngi.com. Okay, on to the feedback. Let's start with this one. This is just our own topic here before we get to listener questions. Jace Frederick from the Pioneer Press, longtime Timberwolves reporter, columnist as well, torched Anthony Edwards. I think I can use that word, torched. Relatively speaking, he was very critical of Anthony Edwards for having a couple of dud games. We're this far into his career. We're he's not a fully formed player yet necessarily, but we're far enough in where the duds are kind of annoying. And the article is entitled, Anthony Edwards is not an MVP candidate, and this week reminded us why. And I'll let you guys read the full thing, audience, at pioneerpress.com, twinseas.com. But his tweet teaser was Anthony Edwards has back-to-back games with over 28 minutes, an under 36% field goal percentage, under 4 rebounds or less, 3 assists or less, so not impacting the game in those ways. The number of games SGA, Jokic, Tatum, Giannis, and Luka have done that since their 24th birthdays? 0. Indifference and inconsistency aren't MVP traits. Do you feel like this is fair criticism of Anthony Edwards?
Boy. That statistic that you just read is really intriguing. It's really interesting. So I give Jace a lot of credit. Like he didn't just write that; he backed it up a bit because that's a lot of good names that you just brought up who have not done the same thing. Do I think that in the true sense of the word MVP or the discussion? No, I don't think a few bad games takes you out of it. But in pushing the player to be the player that you want him to be consistently,
Yeah.
I think there's a discussion here. Absolutely. So like I guess I would disagree on the surface that I know what he's saying, but if we were truly to talk about the MVP, no, I don't think like it's like, oh, he's not now. But I do think the consistency thing is a discussion. And look, Phil, to go back to what we've discussed since the season started and what Ant talked about in training camp, which was, I know that I've sort of taken some nights off, some games off against bad teams before, and now I'm going to chase the scoring title just to keep myself engaged. I don't know that that's the best reason. Like you are, the leader, the captain of this team. Now, all of that being said, I'll also give Ant a bit of credit, even if we would like to see more on a consistent basis against bad teams. In 2025, Ant plays every game he possibly can play. So, and that's great. That's fine. But I see where Jace is coming from. And I think it's a legitimate criticism. I don't know that the MVP discussion, that's a good lightning rod part of the discussion.
Yeah.
But I do think it's a legitimate criticism that Ant does have a problem and has throughout the course of his career of disappearing at times where it's like, come on, dude. You can give us more.
Yeah, I think it's fair criticism. I also find it's fascinating, and we kind of knew this was going to happen. He is one of the best players in the NBA, and he is either the second, or some people would say maybe the best player in Timberwolves history. I think there's a ways to go until he officially passes KG, but he's up there. And yet we are going to, and I think it's fair, we're going to poke at the gap between where he is and what he could be. He has not become the 99th percentile of what he could be yet. He's a lot closer to that now than he was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. But yeah, the last 4 games. So Jace is looking at the last 2 games. I'll even widen out to the last 4 games, 3 of which are against non-playoff teams: Sacramento, Dallas, Washington. Those are not great teams. A couple of those teams are really injured. And then there was the Denver loss in there. And that game matters because Denver's a team you're going to have to continue to fight for Western Conference supremacy. And in those 4 games, he shot 10% from three-point range. This is one of the best shooters in the NBA over the last couple years. But he does have these weird dry spells where he just like has no feel for his shot. To be shooting, I believe it's 3 for 30 from three-point range over the last 3 games. That's the biggest culprit for why these numbers are askew. But then he's not really making up for it with, okay, my shot's not falling. How can I go get 11 assists tonight or something, or grab a bunch of rebounds? So from that standpoint, it kind of feels like against some bad teams, he's just jacking up threes cold and not doing a whole lot else to impact. I don't watch him in these games and think that he's like loafing necessarily. But yeah, it is fair to point out that if you want to go from being like one of the 10-ish best players in the league to being the best player in the game and therefore carrying your team to a championship, these little lulls in the schedule are kind of a red flag. On the flip side, I don't see these last 2 games and think to myself, oh, he's not going to show up for playoff games. So he has risen up for the most part in the biggest games, and that's why the Wolves have been to the Western Conference Finals in back-to-back years. But it's a thing. It's still a thing. These duds are still a thing for him.
Yeah, and I think it's just so much PTSD and other Wolves teams pre-Anthony Edwards. What was it? Was it a Rick Adelman team from like 10 years ago where Pythagorean, had them as like a 50-win Wolves team, but they literally lost like 12 games in the last 2 minutes, where if you look at and Pythagorean, the amount of points they score and the amount of points they've allowed, like if you plug in those numbers, they should be about a 50-win team. And I think like that 2014-15 Wolves team, whatever it was, only won like 41 games. They just played with their food so many times. Mm-hmm. So I also feel there's a little bit of PTSD from like previous Wolves years, but I mean, when you have someone like Anthony Edwards, who Timberwolves fans are lucky to have, and is literally trying to enter the MVP conversation, even though he's like distancing himself from also being the face of the league. It is kind of strange when you play like a crappy team like the Wizards or a really just lowly team, and you play with your food or you don't show up and take it seriously. It's criticism that is deserved.
I think the problem too here is that, because I agree with Phil. I don't think he lows. I don't watch him hardly ever and think, oh, he's not trying hard. But I think it's engagement, if that makes sense. Like, I do think there's times he becomes disengaged. He's still so good. He doesn't look like he doesn't care. It's just like he's not fully engaged in the game. And where I think we run into a problem, if that's the right word, that might be too strong a word, where we run into an issue is, at this point in time in this dude's career, we are looking for each season steps. And like, he's taken a ton of steps. He's a really, really good player. He's one of the best in the entire league. But we are looking for like veteran steps now, right? Which is, how do you approach the Wizards game?
Yeah.
What do you do? And again, to go back to his quote about, well, that's where I'm going to chase the scoring title. I don't even know that that's that great of thing to say. Like, I would rather he say, Phil, what you just talked about, which is, you know what? I'm not shooting great tonight. I know that. I'm going to go out and get a bunch of rebounds, a bunch of assists, something like that. But it's a fine line, because he's a really good player, but it's also very fair, and I'm sure Chris Finch expects the same thing as he ages, that you see more and more maturity in his game. And I think some of these games, what comes back to us is he's not showing necessarily the maturity that you want as he gets into his mid-20s.
Yeah, it is. And I know there's going to be, it all feels a little nitpicky because, I mean, they won the games, and, you know, it's a
good column by Jace, though. I love the topic.
Yeah, but it's poking at that gap. He is, what are you guys criticizing him? He's the second best player in Wolves history, and he's like let's call it the 6th or 10th best player in the NBA, depending on the day or how your rankings fall. Like, why are you poking at him? Because it feels like he could be the 3rd best player in the NBA. And there's a couple things that need some calibrating and tweaking. And I don't think anyone's savaging him or saying that he can't quite get there or can't get there at some point in his career. But I thought it was bold for this market, especially. And for the way that most of the coverage of the Timberwolves has rightfully been very positive over the past few years, I thought it was a fair poke by Jace Frederick in the Pioneer Press.
I will also say this to defend Jess. Yes, he's a columnist as well, so he has the license to write this. But because he's a beat guy, I wonder if there's been some grumbling that he was told or heard. Like, I don't know that he just wrote this by himself and just like watched Ant and said, screw this guy, I'm going to write this, right?
Yeah, because he's in the locker room.
Because he's in the locker room.
It's harder to write something like that and then be in the locker room, and because, you know, guys get pissed. So,
and he's sourced well, so it wouldn't shock me if somebody internally said, hey, watch this. And he's like, oh, good point.
Yeah. Let me pull up you wanted the schedule. You want to know when the actual hard games come up here?
I want stretches of opponents at home where I can go and not say they're going to lose by 75, so I don't want to go.
I would say their
opponent, I should say, sorry. Yeah.
Well, their next hard game not that they can't lose a road game at Phoenix or Sacramento. I mean, it's, you know, but their next real test is Wednesday next week at Oklahoma City on ESPN. That's a 6:30 tip-off, national TV against a budding dynasty. And you better bring your A game for that one. Then you get Boston at home on the following Saturday, depleted with injuries. But you're going to get a little reunion with your guys, I think, unless they're hurt and I'm missing something. Luka Garza and Josh Minott, revenge game potentially against Boston.
The C's are coming to town.
And then you get your first crack at, now I don't know what the Wemby injury timeline is. I think that it's a calf injury, right? I think he's probably not going to be available for that November 30th game.
That's very unfortunate.
So sorry, Judd. You're kind of, like you're getting kind of a depleted Boston, depleted San Antonio. Boy, could we say that? Okay, here it is. Yeah. Here it is. You're gonna have to wait a month, but it's
month.
Yeah, but these are home games. So Friday, December 19th, home against Oklahoma City. Then 2 nights later, it's home against Milwaukee and Giannis. And then 2 nights after that, it's home against the Knicks, followed by a road game 2 nights later at Denver. So that is going to be in a month from now. Again, I'm not saying they go undefeated between now and then, but your next real test of a multi-game stretch is probably that 4-game stretch starting on December 19th.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so for the Knicks game, can we have 3 tributes for Cat instead of 2 this time? Maybe
I
4.
think 1 per quarter would be, or you could do like
4.
one pregame, and then you could do 5. You could do 1 then per quarter, the first TV timeout.
Welcome back, Big Cat. And here's Big Cat year 1. You know what? Every year, that's what we should do. Yeah. Do a separate video for every year he played here.
Oh,
and just run them during games. Who cares when they? Who just run them during games? Who cares?
I like it. Plus, with the new kind of like theater lighting or stage lighting, you get
it's like
really
a movie. I mean, with the
it would be.
Lighting, it's literally like a movie.
That's a good point, Dex.
Just saying.
So you'll have to wait a month to play a bunch of good teams. Okay, before we get to, by the way, man, the comments are on fire. James Roberts, 3189. Declan is a cross between Beavis and Ron from Bob's Burgers.
Oh, I love Ron from Bob's Burgers. Bob's Burgers, low-key, a really good show. I never watched that like live all the time, but I binged it a few times, and every time I do turn it on as background, like I'll turn it on as background stuff so I get stuff done. I end up getting sucked in because I love all of them so much. So and Beavis and Butthead, big fan of Beavis and Butthead.
Icons. I mean, Ron from Bob's Burgers and Beavis are legends.
I'm Cornholio.
I am corn. Can you pull your shirt over your?
Very good.
I am Cornholio.
I gotta take the headphones off.
This will be good. This will be good.
Are you threatening me? My parents took, because that was one of our like family favorite shows growing up. We subjected kids in our house to shows probably they shouldn't have been watching. But I saw Beavis and Butthead Do America in theaters when I was like 6.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I forget what year that came out, but I had no business being at that movie, and my parents.
How would they? Is that rated? Was it PG-13 or was it R? It's probably PG-13.
It was probably PG-13. But I remember
movies are pretty strict about it. They see a 6-year-old going.
That's awesome that your parents allowed you to watch. I can't believe it. I thought that your original statement was going to be I couldn't watch it, and so I tried to sneak it in.
Dude, that came out.
Good for your parents.
That came out on right after my 4th birthday. And it is an very early core memory.
Wow.
Like one of my earliest. And I also think that same week and I brought this up before, that same week is when the Wolves beat Jordan's Bulls. Was that in 96 or was that 97?
96 or 96. It was like
It was
January or February of 97, right?
Yep.
That was
January 97.
That's another like that's my earliest sports memories. The confetti coming down, like we won the NBA Finals. We beat Jordan's Bulls.
It's like what movies are made of.
Yeah, it's what movies are made of.
I have a question about that. Did Target Center have the confetti ready to go specifically for that game?
I don't.
Why did they have confetti ready to unleash in the regular season?
They might have unleashed. I don't remember anymore.
Or was it left over from? By the way, before we get to some more feedback here from the audience, Bricksworth in the North Loop, Wolves fans, great spot to hang out before and after home games and for away games with fellow Wolves-loving friends. They've got that signature Nas Reed Hazy IPA, Detroit-style pizza, really good dry rub wings with unique creative flavors too. And because it's in the North Loop, really close to Target Center, you could walk right over to the arena. You can park over by Bricksworth too. There's some cheaper parking options. And then once we get back to patio season, that sprawling patio is freaking awesome. But there's the Burnsville Bricksworth location too, which is the OG place. They brew their own craft beer. But Bricksworth in the North Loop, perfect place to catch pre and post for Wolves home games and belly up for away games. Also a shout out to North American Banking Company for powering this Feedback Friday on Flagrant Howls. In getting to know the great team at North American Banking Company the last couple of years, I've noticed a couple things. Friendly, knowledgeable people, actual human beings that you can, like I was working with a real human being 2 weeks ago on something at North American Banking Company. Marissa, she was super helpful.
Marissa.
And I didn't have to go through a bunch of prompts and talk to that's right. She wasn't AI generated. She was a real human. And that's what you get at North American Banking Company, and the valuing of the safety and security of your accounts too. So 6 metro locations in the Twin Cities. nabankcode.com/Mackey to learn more. That's nabankcode.com/Mackey. Member FDIC. Equal housing lender. Howl. Dystopian Utopia chimes in on the Flagrant Howls YouTube channel. Click that subscribe button, the like button if you enjoy these episodes. Don't worry, guys. They play a lot of bad teams until January. Everybody will be able to pretend the Wolves are good until 2026. So that's nice. 8th seed this year if they're lucky. Well, if they beat the brakes off a bunch of bad teams here, if they can get themselves 10, 12 games over 500 by beating bad teams, they can avoid the 8th seed. Or the play-in, if you will.
The 8th seed was the Grizzlies last year at 48 wins. So it was a loaded West last year.
Yeah.
So basically, would the Wolves finish with, let's just use that as a benchmark. It's probably not fair to assume it's going to be 48 wins again. But if they finish with 45 wins and they're off to a nice start this year, that would be a pretty stumbling over yourself season at this point after the nice start you got off to.
Yeah, they would essentially be playing slightly over 500 basketball the rest of the year. But if you look right now, the 9 seed right now is the Blazers at 6-9. The 10 seed is the Jazz at 5-9. There's a couple teams that are below the fold out of the play-in that you thought were going to be maybe feistier, like Memphis, but there's weird Ja Morant vibes, and they're 5-11. The Clippers, Load Management USA, 4-11 to start the season. Now, is there a chance that a couple of these teams kind of rise up from the basketball grave and make their way up? But right now, to me, the unless you think the Wolves are going to completely collapse while playing a bunch of bad teams as well between now and the first of the year, and one of these other teams from below the 8th seed, Blazers, Utah, Grizzlies, etc., are going to go on a crazy run, by just starting 10-5, you've avoided disastrous scenarios, I think, knock on wood, not counting injuries, obviously. So I think you're in a good spot. Plus, San Antonio is going to have to grind it without Wemby for a while. They've won 3 games in a row, kind of regardless. And there's some really good teams above the Wolves in the West. But
why the negativity is my question. Why the negativity?
Very cynical.
But I mean,
there is an odd amount of cynicism in some corners of like Wolves internet for a team that's gone to the Western Conference Finals in back-to-back years. And even though he's, put up a couple duds, they have one of the best players in the world who's getting better. So
I also feel like if you are an overall Minnesota sports fan right now, the cynicism towards the Wolves should be at an all-time low.
Yeah, let's direct that cynicism
got
across
Twins.
the street from Target Center to Target Field before we...
Or at McCarthy and the Vikings. Like there's just so much else to be cynical about.
You guys aren't pumped that they avoided arbitration with Justin Topa across the street at Target Field? Come on, man.
Oh, and I see they're making trades left and right for guys.
Going to our Twin show.
$1.25. Don't even get me started.
Let's see here. Here's a more positive comment from the Flagrant Howls YouTube channel. Charlie Barley, 914, says, it's November, and the Wolves have unleashed an X Factor already. He's an all 98-foot disruptor, and his name is Jaylen Clark.
Yep.
This is a very pro Jaylen Clark show. I feel like Judd's been on the Jaylen Clark bandwagon from the first 2 minutes he stepped on the court last year.
Love that kid.
And it's kind of funny, man. Like Jaylen Clark, since he was, let's see here. If you start in November here, when he really became a solidified part of the rotation in November, he's been a plus 19, a plus 12, plus 7, plus 9, plus 5, plus 15, plus. He's only had a minus point differential in 3 different games since he became a regular fixture in the rotation in November. It's like he comes out there for 15 minutes and is just like a plus 12.
Yep.
Plus 15.
Yep.
He's playing with some good players too, but.
But he's a disruptor. That's 100% right.
Yeah, just picking pockets. I love how it's so funny. He hides on the baseline. He'll act like he's like on the bench after a possession because he sits in the corner sometimes on offense, and he'll like sneak down the baseline to try and steal the inbounds pass. He's gonna do that in a big play. He's gonna have one of those like Larry, the ball, and Bird steals the ball, or
Havlicek.
Havlicek
Havlicek
steals the
stole the
ball.
ball. Havlicek
Well,
stole
Bird
the
did
ball.
it too. Then there was the Bird steal in like 1987.
But yes, he is. He is going to make a huge play defensively in some game.
Yeah.
Big
Yeah,
game.
it just feels like already Nickeil Alexander-Walker, it would have been awesome to keep him, whatever, but and even without TJ Shannon contributing like we thought, when he's injured and whatnot, but it kind of feels like Jaylen Clark has filled like 75% of what Nickeil Alexander-Walker did.
Yeah. And he's still really young.
Yeah. So imagine if TJ Shannon could join the party or Dillingham takes a step at some point. There's room for it. And then I'll give you one more here for sure from Austin. This is hardcore. I love this. Austin says, I think the Wolves may already have a replacement for Rudy Gobert in their system. You may think he's talking about Yohan Beranger. Oh, no.
No.
He's been watching the 6 G League games so far. Rocco Zakarski in limited action with the Iowa Wolves looks like an offensive version of Rudy Gobert with his lanky frame and natural modern big man instincts. He may not have a complete grasp on the defensive ability yet, but Yohan Beranger is also on this team, and he has shown with limited action in garbage time in the NBA that he can defend. So maybe like putting those guys together, if you could form one combined skill set somehow between those guys. But maybe the combination of these guys, Austin says, could be the answer to replace Rudy Gobert down the line. Yeah, they've played 6 G League games, the Iowa Wolves so far. And Rocco Zakarski, yes, we have made it to the Rocco Zakarski G League portion of Flagrant Howls today.
Oh,
13.7 rebounds. These are averages. 13.7 rebounds, 2 blocks, 50% from the field. He's also shooting some threes. He's like 30% from 3, but he's got a little range. Old Rocco.
Nothing wrong with that.
Back-to-back double-doubles, and against the vaunted Grand Rapids Gold last week, 24 points, 8 rebounds for Rocco.
What's Grand Rapids' nickname?
The Gold. The Grand Rapids Gold.
Okay.
That's like
Not a
Heat,
fan?
like the Miami Heat,
Yeah.
Orlando
No, I know.
Magic. It's
I know.
like
I'm
a
just not a fan.
non-plural.
I think if I was going to be, I think if I was going to own a G League team, I would come up with some really creative names.
Well, Gold, I don't think anyone else is Gold. Seems creative to me.
I don't know about that. I mean, it's fine. It's fine. I
Next
don't
week
love
on
it.
Flagrant Howls, we want you to bring us 10 ideas
Well,
to rename the Grand Rapids G League.
You know who's
team.
done a great job? Minor League Baseball. Because it used to be like the
Portland Pickles?
the Cedar Rapids Twins or something like that, and now it's the Colonels. Like they've come up with great names in baseball, which comes up with great gear and merchandise. And I'm
Are
just
you
looking
more
to help
into
the
like
G
the
League.
actual plural names where like you say Colonels,
Yeah,
Timberwolves,
I like
Blazers,
I don't like singular names.
Heat,
Okay,
Magic,
Wild, then.
Thunder.
Wild. Oh God.
Yeah, what is I know what Thunder is. I know what Heat is.
Yeah.
Wild is like too ambiguous.
You're out in the wild. Yeah, it's terrible.
What were the other finalists for the Timberwolves name?
Oh, that's a good question.
Move that quick, maybe.
And Timberwolves is a great name. So like they got the name right.
What would have happened?
Polars.
Polars.
It was
Wasn't that
so
the
this is
Wild?
according to Google
Wasn't
AI.
that one for the Wild too? Wasn't Polars? I thought.
I don't remember if it was.
And if
I didn't like any of those names.
And if they would have
Steve.
moved to New Orleans, do you think there would have been a mascot change, like a change of the name? Or they
If
would have
the
been
Wolves-
the New Orleans Wolves. New Orleans, they couldn't be the Jazz,
Well,
obviously.
they could have been the
Utah.
Pelicans.
Well.
could've become the Pelicans.
No, what's funny because the Utah Jazz were the New Orleans Jazz originally,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And then they moved to Utah and like
But that
kept the name Jazz.
The name
they didn't
Jazz,
really used to
true.
change names much though, because like the Lakers, there's no lakes in Los Angeles.
Yeah,
They just
It's
kept our
fraudulent.
name.
It's
They kept our
fraudulent.
name.
Yeah, the two finalist names for the Timberwolves back in the 80s were the Timberwolves and the Polars. Timberwolves was chosen by a vote of Minnesota city councils in late 1986. So they literally voted on either Timberwolves or Polars back in 1986. So this could have been this could have been the Minnesota Polars for all these years. Or
And if
wherever
had
they would
named
have
them
moved
that,
to.
5 championships. 5 championships by now. The Polars would have gone on a great run.
Amazing. So there you go. There's your Feedback Friday edition of Flagrant Howls here. We'll see if the Wolves can keep racking up these NBA Cup victories en route to the first banner to be hung inside Target Center. I am hell-bent to make sure that we win that banner and hang it inside Target Center. This is a Timberwolves lifestyle podcast. See you guys.